How would you feel if you had over $1 million of debt in your 30s? And I'm not just speaking mortgage, I'm speaking like purely bad debt. Or worse, if you inherited hundreds of thousands of dollars, but then a couple years later, you had the verge of bankruptcy because of bad financial decisions. Well guys, this year we've helped some of the toughest financial situations in America. So stick around and enjoy a compilation of the worst case we've seen on this show. C'est parti! This is Colby. For the past 10 years, he's been racking up an extreme amount of debt. Credit card, personal loan, car loan, student loan. He's sitting here with us with the most debt we've ever seen on this show. What's going on?
Like 5 to 10 years, I really have prioritized traveling. And in the process of seeing all these incredible places and doing all these incredible things, I have built up hundreds of thousands of student loan debt. And it's all kind of culminating right now to this peak where like now I have this hundreds of thousands of debt and not exactly sure where to move forward from here.
How many countries have you been to?
I've been to 52 countries.
I mean, you lived a good life for years traveling around the world, the dream of many, I'm sure.
Yes.
At some point, you have to pay a little bit the price.
Exactly.
And that's fair.
It's fair.
All right, let's look at your assets. I see you have a checking account here with a balance of $277.
Loaded.
A cash balance of, I believe, about $20.
I have a $20 bill in my wallet.
Do you have anything else?
The only other asset that I have is a coin collection.
Oh, okay. How much is that worth?
At least $15,000.
$15,000?
Yeah.
Any saving account?
Nada.
Any other assets?
I had a whopping $6,000 in retirement that I pulled out February or March of about a year ago now when I was in Guatemala trying to figure out how I was going to stay in Central America for longer.
So no retirement fund at 35?
No retirement.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings currently the liquidity of our friend here, Dr. Colby, to $297. Now, if I include the coin collection, you're at $15,287. However, you have to sell that. Guys, I'm going to start tackling the debt one by one. All right, here you're recording a credit card debt of $1,075. Okay, at an interest rate of 30%.
Yeah.
All right, I see a second type of credit card debt, $698 at an interest rate of 29.5%.
Yeah.
Then let's start with this private student loan.
Okay. Well,
50 grand.
Yeah.
At 5%.
Yes. There was another loan that I got for $8,000 to move across the country when I landed my residency.
Oh, okay. What's the interest on that?
8.375.
Okay.
I took that I had landed my job as a resident physician, and I took that in the name of moving across the country, but it was definitely used for travel.
Well, hold on. How many master's degree do you have?
I have 2.
So you have a bachelor.
I have a bachelor's. I did a master of international affairs. I did a master of biomedical research, and then I went to medical school.
I see. And that brought you today to how much?
To a whopping $850,000.
So let me ask you a question, and I want you to tell me legitly about it. Out of the 850,000, you know what I'm about to ask.
I know where this is going.
Of the 850, what portion, Colby, was for travel?
Maybe 30 to 50%.
Probably $300,000 was for travel. How the heck did you pull that off?
I think that the average cost of medical school at this point is about $300,000.
Okay.
That's $300,000 on average.
Okay. Well, there is a 550.
I did that twice, basically. And then on top of that, I did 2 master's programs. I was out of state. Fortunately, now I'm in this different program called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, whereby if I work in the public service, something for the US government, if I'm making qualifying payments, which means I'm working that full-time job and making payments for 120 payments
for about 10 years.
10 years, my debt will be wiped clean.
That's what I was gonna speak about, and I'm glad that you are actually taking action on this today. That brings your total number of debt
at $936,000.
I haven't passed that 7-digit yet.
So when we look together at your net worth today, you come into at minus $921,000. The amount of interest that you're about to pay per year on your student debt, it is $58,336 per year in just interest. That's like, that's like a freaking salary. So it is not over. All right, 35 years old, you've lived a life of a dream, but today we're going to find a way for you to get out of this and get out of this ASAP. Number one, I would try to establish a base, not just a financial base that you can come back to, but I think it's a mental space that is going to give you the ability to think that you can build something. So number one, I would go on Facebook Marketplace, go on Craigslist, and find a spot that you can call your home.
Okay. I think that's a good recommendation.
Number two, I need you to do anything you can to benefit of that debt repayment that you've discussed with the student forgiveness. I mean, I'm glad you didn't touch your coin collection, but I'm surprised actually you didn't, to be honest. Sell between 5 and 7,500 worth of coins that have nothing linked to you or that you can partake. And with that money, I want you to put $5,000 into a high yield saving account. Okay. Pay right away those credit cards because we don't want that.
Interest rates are astronomical.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. 30%. Like if you have credit card debt, guys, let's be honest. If you've seen this show, you know it's like shooting yourself in the foot every single month. Okay. With regards to your car, 3.7%. You're underwater like no tomorrow. You need to keep this running. You just need to keep this car until it dies. The other thing that I invite you to do is to try and benefit in this. I mean, you've lived on a dime across the world. Somehow try to have the same mentality in the United States and leverage programs that exist. You can leverage food banks. Because I want you to find the hope, I truly believe that you should not assign that debt to yourself anymore. That debt does not represent you. It seemed impossible, but in full, if you play the game right, you can still become a millionaire by the time you retire. This is Andrea, 32 years old, today at total assets of $250,000. And while it may seem that she has it together, she had to go through difficult situations.
Almost a year after we were married, a friend reached out to me. She had heard that he was having an affair with somebody that he worked with. A week later, I was living on my own.
If she had not made the right decisions, her financial situation could have been ruined.
It was over $200,000 of debt that he had accrued, and I, at the time I didn't know where it came from. So I got married in May of 2022.
Okay.
I was living with my husband. We were splitting finances 50-50, which was very manageable. A week before we got married, I had brought up the conversation that I had brought up many times before of finances because things just weren't adding up. The conversations before had been pushed aside, and he would get really frustrated and uncomfortable with me asking about finances. So he told me, okay, yeah, I have some debt. And he said it was about $40,000 in debt. And then, weeks after we got married, that number doubled, and then weeks later it tripled, and then weeks after that, it just kept adding up until, I realized that it was over $200,000 of debt that he had accrued. And I, at the time I didn't know where it came from. He was very, wasn't really forthcoming with where it came from. Almost a year after we were married, a friend reached out to me and said that she had heard that he was having an affair with somebody that he worked with. So yeah, that was my time to go.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for walking us through this story. I'm sure this was probably not an easy time during your life. Let's move now together into your assets. Number one, I see here on your checking account, you're showing a balance of $3,247. You also have another checking account with a balance of $713. Okay, we'll be accounting for this one. Moving on to some of your saving, I see a first saving at $10,767. However, on this one, I do see a recent transaction of minus $10,000 on this account.
I actually had a friend tell me about the high yield savings account.
Yes.
And basically transferred all of my savings into that account.
So again, Andrea is referring to a higher saving account, which is an excellent position. Here you're earning, I believe, about 4.5% or so. This is about average with what is going on right now with the current rates. And I see you're totaling a balance of $51,310 on this one. Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that. You do own a car, right?
I do.
If we look at the value of this car right now, a private party, it's about $6,587. I see that you have a traditional IRA with $15,840. This is fair. I also see that you have a Roth with $10,441. Okay. And another one, ladies and gentlemen, another traditional IRA with a position of $113,783. Here on your application, I also see a fairly atypical asset, which refers to your wedding and engagement band, to the value of how much?
It's appraised collectively at about $30,000.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings Andrea at 32 years old today at total assets of $242,801.
Wow.
$250,000. And let's look at some of the debt. Well, guys, let me assure you, there is almost none. A little bit of food out, a little bit of entertainment. Nothing too crazy. So overall, pretty good. Okay. Let's move on to your other credit card. You're showing a balance of $19. Okay. Do you have any other form of debt?
No.
Okay. Total debt, $419. Now let's think a little bit strategy together as to what would I do with all the money that you have. Today, if you're going to want to buy a house, I'm concerned that despite having a good credit score, you will not benefit from the greatest rates.
Okay.
You're going to tell me, wait, hold on, Roman, what's going on? I don't understand. I thought that having an excellent credit score would give me that. But that's not what creditors 100% look for.
Okay.
They want to see for you the ability to showcase good management of debt. Okay. And right now, other than showcasing your monthly payment on your credit cards and so on, you're not really showcasing anything to them as to how much you would be able to handle something like a mortgage.
Okay.
I want you either to sell your car. So you would sell your car, you would get about $6,000 back. Mm-hmm. And then put a down payment of $10,000 and get $5,000 as a loan.
Okay.
Okay. You're not going to really pay a ton of interest, but you're going to showcase to the bank your ability to manage a payment from the start to the end.
Okay.
Number two, I would, of course, review all of your insurance coverage. You need to redo your car insurance. You need to do your pet insurance, all of this. Number three, I would consider you creating what is called a revocable living trust. Mm-hmm. And this allows you to create a line of paperwork as to the wealth that you accumulated if something was to arise, how it would be distributed.
Okay.
Okay. But the idea behind it is while it does not offer asset protection, sorry, I'm going into the specifics, it allows you to create a first layer of protection as to your future business ventures, okay?
Okay.
The whole idea behind it of why I'm bringing this is at some point, potentially, you're going to be interested about creating a business, okay? And by creating a revocable living trust, you're going to funnel a process which is called a business vertical, that is going to be revocable trust, holding company, and operating company. Now, I don't want to dive into the business aspect, but what I'm saying is that by establishing this process, you're setting yourself good if you were to go into an entrepreneurial venture. Right now, what I'm seeing, looking at your accounts, is for the most part, you're pretty optimized with what you have. I would, as I mentioned previously, consider transforming your traditional IRA into a Roth.
Yeah.
I think that you do not need right now $50,000 into a high yield saving account. What I mean by that is I want you, we've calculated together your needs sum to about $4,500 or so, to put $30,000 into your high yield saving account. And this is what we're going to call the emergency fund.
Okay.
I want you to potentially put about $20,000 into potentially market positions that are going to give you a much greater return than what you could be expecting from the 4.5% into a high yield, while still investing in the market in positions that are pretty safe. And those are some of the stocks that I personally like myself are VOO. This is something that is the S&P 500, VTI, VGT, QQQ a little bit, SPYI. SPYI is a dividend play on call options on the S&P 500. And I have about 10% of crypto myself, okay? But the idea is for you to create a portfolio, a brokerage account that allows you to invest into the market that is still free cash for you at a slightly better rate than what you would get from a high yield saving account, okay? You could almost be an example of how to approach personal finance in US. You're playing the game, but you're being mindful as to how you play it. This is Vanessa and Tony. After 18 years and 4 kids together, their relationship is in deep trouble.
We're coming to you because my wife wants to leave me because of our finances.
Currently, they are facing one of the most disastrous financial situations we've ever seen on this show. You guys have 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
19 different credit cards. That brings your total amount of credit card debt at $117,000.
Like, I'm done. I'm sick of it.
As a final attempt to save their future, Vanessa and Tony have turned to me, hoping for a lifeline before it's too late. What's going on here?
I feel like it has become a part of me to have money be tight, and which is kind of a downfall at the same time because I'm a giver. And so I give even when I don't have anything. I'll give the shirt off my back to someone that needs. And so it's kind of put us in a predicament where if someone needs something, I'm using a credit card if I have to.
With our marriage, I am the supporter, not the breadwinner. I am also have great love for other people. If it puts me behind, I'll do that for somebody.
Okay, so pretty much 2 givers, and we can see that in your statements too. Over that time, you guys also had 4 kids.
Yeah.
You feel something is not going right.
Now I feel like they're at a position where they are being bullied at school. They just have a sense of depression going on. They have anxiety, and I feel like they need mom. With everything going on, it's stressful. It's trying to worry about paying bills. It's trying to do this and this and this, but it's also taking the time to stop and love on them. For me, if we're in a good financial situation, it's better emotionally for everybody.
And as her husband, as men, we should, we're always taught about being a provider, a presider, and a protector. And so when you fall through some of those cracks and not being able to really fulfill any of those, if it really takes a toll on a man's emotions.
I'm going to try and help you find answers to that tough points, okay? And for me to be able to do that, we have to dive into the specifics of your finances. So let's rock and roll together. You have a checking account with a balance of 2016, okay? You have saving account with no balance, $1, but you also have a money market investment, so kind of a brokerage of some sort with 166. Now, what is good to hear is you have cars, although you have debt on those. If you were to sell it private parties, about 7,494. You have another car.
Yeah, it's a minivan.
Nice. You guys also have a loan on this one, but the value of the car today is at 15,319. Let's look at your total assets today if you were to sell everything. You're at 24,996. I looked at some of your expenses, and one that is extremely steep is your housing expense. I mean, I'm gonna be straightforward with you right now. You're paying 42% of your income goes into your housing.
Yeah.
That's what we leverage. We like it to be below 28. Some of your debt, and let's start soft with your transportation. So on the Grizzler, you guys have a loan of $20,071. Also another car loan, $3,546 at an interest rate of 3%. That is very nice to see. In terms of credit cards, debt, you guys have 19 different credit cards. Together as a couple, that brings your total amount of credit card debt at $117,000. You also have some student loans. Now it's not as extensive. 6,267. I don't see any other form of loans. It's nice to see that you guys have not fallen under the predatory payday loans and any of that BS that this shit should be illegal in the United States. I absolutely hate that. That brings your net worth at minus $121,600. I'm not here just wanting to save your finances. I want to save your couple. Because in a way I have compassion for you, but I also have very much compassion for your kids. Okay? Because they shouldn't be in my eyes having to suffer from some of the decisions that you guys have full authority in making. You guys are gonna have to file, each of you, for Chapter 7. I mean, at this point, there is absolutely no other alternative. And I believe that I would say that you guys have a very high success rate of having all this debt wiped out. But you, sir, are gonna have to stand up to the plate this time. You need to find a way to find stable employment, at least for the next couple of years, where you're just putting your hat and it's grind mode, okay? You guys have a car. That works. I know people here in Las Vegas that make over $1,000, $1,500 a week driving, okay? So I need you to suck it up on your creative front, gear up, put your armor, and freaking grind. If I was in your shoes, honestly, I would go back and live in the trailer for 1 to 2 years. Cut on any form of other expenses. I am allowing you $100 per child per month. Right now, with much respect, you guys cannot think about yourself. Now, we're speaking. Because now, on the side, you can put $1,200 to $1,500 per month in savings. And I'm being easy. If you move to the trailer, you can easily pull $2,000 to $2,500 per month. And what you're gonna do as a couple is I want you guys to have bi-weekly check-ins. Okay? As easy as it is. Each of you, I want you to set yourself objectives of income, but also of time to spend with your kids. In a matter of about a year or so, not only will you guys, for the most part, will be debt-free, you guys will have positive income to expense on your financial statements. But now, we can start thinking about building the financial foundations. That is come from an emergency fund. It is come from investing into your kids for $529. I want you guys to start putting $50 for each of the kids. I don't care that the amount is low. I want to instigate the behavior. For each of you, you guys are going to open what is called a Roth IRA, okay?
Okay.
In a year, you guys are going to have 2 cars. You guys are going to have $20,000 of sort of savings. You guys are going to live in a way that is highly efficient, where the kids still have a chance to get out of the current environment where they are being bullied at school and so on. You speak with your kids. I want them to be informed of what's going on. Not the 5-year-old, but walk them through the journey. What's important is for them to understand that they are part of that growth and they are not suffering from that decision. So explain them in a way that is a positive twist, where we are going on an adventure, okay? Where we are going to be building the very strong foundations for you guys' future.
Thanks, Romain. You really opened my eyes. about like my responsibility and my obligation, I mean, if you want to call it that, of providing for my family and taking life seriously. And you giving me a plan of like, look, you need to dig deep, you need to stick with it so that you can have a future and invest in your future.
And so for us, it has brought us closer. It has made us stronger. We want to thank you for your help. So we're following this momentum. We are going forward.
I had a pretty good life, making tons of money, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. I bought a really expensive engagement ring.
How much?
40,000.
Oh, this has to be in the top 10% worst cases that I've seen.
Damn.
Dude, you only have 5 months in front of you, then you're homeless. What is going on today?
I am scared. I am looking at my bank statements and wondering where I'm going to be homeless, and it looks like it's going to be pretty soon. I've had pretty good jobs throughout my life. You know, I was a sommelier. I worked at really high-end places, had a comfortable living, never made tons of money. I had a little bit more debt than average because I enjoy having a good lifestyle, i.e. good food, going out, etc.
Right.
So I was a little bit financially careless. However, about 2.5 years ago, I had the job of my dreams. It was paying me tons of money, $250,000 a year.
Okay, very nice.
Life finally felt like I was starting to make it. Cleared the hurdle, I could go grocery shopping, didn't have to think I have to save money for this or that. You know, there was so much money in the bank account all the time. Now, towards the end of 2022, everything dried up. Business changed, eventually ended up dissolving, and I went from making so much money and being employed and just rolling over, you know, selling home after home to zero.
And today, you come in with what, 2 kids?
2 kids, 2 beautiful twin girls. They're 2.5 years old.
Soon to be wife.
Yeah, I'm getting married next year.
Does she work?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, so she takes care of the kids.
Yes.
So everything is pretty much on you.
Correct.
Are you expecting any amount of money from parents or something?
No, I don't have any parents. Well, they passed away.
Oh, so you had
Years
an
ago.
inheritance at some point.
14 years ago.
Oh, how much was it?
Close to $250,000.
What did you do with it?
I was drinking good wine. I was eating good food. You know, whenever I wanted to have lobster, I didn't mind the price. I was having Chateaubriand every other night.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
dude.
so I didn't, you know.
Those are $100 of wine. I mean, Chateaubriand?
Yeah. I don't know if it was that I hit 30 years old and I had a midlife crisis during that time, but like I kind of wanted to get that off my system.
So, let's look at this again methodically. Let's start first with your income and your assets. Number 1, you have a checking account here with a balance of 5,882. Okay. You have 2 saving accounts, one with 2,031 and another one with 767. You have a bunch of investment accounts. 2 accounts on this one. You have an individual brokerage at 3,820. But also you have a traditional IRA with 3,480. But combined gains minus 68%.
Well, the market changed.
But you've lost 70% of your retirement funds on this shit.
Yeah.
How much do you have on crypto?
2579.
Do you have any other investment account?
So I do have a personal, what do you call it, gambling account where I actually do the research on the stocks and.
Okay, nice. 6,850. What car do you drive?
2015 Acura RDX.
So you are, positive on this car. About what, $1,300 of equity. Okay. Do you have any other car?
I have an old 2002 Audi Allroad.
The Kelly Blue Book value for it is at $2,700. That brings your total car assets to about $4,000. So right now, my friend, at 44 years old, you are at $29,400. That is assuming you sell everything. Hold on for dear life, guys, because it's about to become very interesting. So I start first here with your credit card. You have an American Express,
yes,
$3,700. With no surprise, given the Mayday situation, what do we have? We have delivery. Let's freaking go. Uber Eats, $77. Uber trip, $44. Uber Eats, $46. How much do you think you spend on non-essentials?
I would guesstimate around $500.
$570. You're
Really?
spot on.
Okay.
Dude, this is money that's flowing out the window, creating absolutely nothing, if not putting you in further debt. You also recorded another type of debt, a PayPal credit, $4,200.
Yeah.
5 student loans. Oh my god, dude, you have some with interest of 18.3%? How did you get such bad rates?
Bad credit.
What is your credit score?
Currently 620 maybe.
All right, so your total amount of private student loan about $36,000. Nice. What about federal? You also have federal?
Yeah, they're probably around 14, 15.
Oh god. So that brings you right now at 44 years old at a net worth of minus $39,000.
It's terrifying.
I have to say this is pretty tough because you are bleeding money from every situation right now, and you not even have a frugal behavior. There is no shot right now, my friend, that you can live in a similar lifestyle that you had, at least in the short term. You can completely need to reframe yourself. You're losing in equity, not $2,000, not $3,000. My friend, you are bleeding $3,591. You have 5 months in front of you. If you don't take action, in 5 months, you have 0. I have thought about a plan that we can install together, but you're gonna have to take action like your life depends on it at this point. And it's not just your life. It's your life, your wife, and your 2 new kids. I want you to, tonight, speak with your wife and tell her exactly what you've seen today. No more of the BS expenses. You're gonna have to tie the belt. So when it comes to shopping for food, okay, I would start looking for number one options that are affordable, like outlets. There are also apps that you can use, let's say Good to Go, which gives you, food that is about to perish from restaurants that you can buy at a very affordable price, not sponsored. I would start even considering like food banks and so on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I need you to start finding a second job because this is the number that you need to think of. You need to bring this year an extra $40,000. That is $2,500 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Given your financial situation, please, your wife at some point will need, except if you win the lottery, to go back into the workforce. Number 4, I considered for you credit card consolidation. When can you get out of your current housing situation?
February.
Okay, you need to get out of this ASAP.
Yeah.
You cannot afford this. I would relocate to suburb of Seattle.
Yeah.
So overall, it is stop the crap, get a second job, have your wife get a job, relocate, change your approach to money and to your behavior. But you can do it. You
Still
have the
top 10
skills.
now.
You have the hustler mentality, though.
Yeah.
You don't have much time. The alarm needs to raise. Your teeth needs to be on the floor grinding this, and not for you. For your kids. Hey Antonio, this is Roman. I know it's been about 3 months since we've both recorded our finance action. I have a lot of questions for you, but first, I want to know, how are you doing?
So, life has gotten a little bit better. My fiance got a job.
Nice!
I had to brutally say, okay, cool. So I can give you money for you to get Uber, or we can be homeless. Now with the additional income, it works out way better.
If your wife is working, who is taking care of the kids?
So we've been able to now kind of figure out a schedule where she can go to work, I have the kids, I go to work, she has the kids.
Congratulations to you for taking the right step, dude. That's well done. This is Catherine, and for a long time, she was provided for by her partner. But then one day, she received a call and everything was over.
He called me and he was like, you know what? I resent you for not actually making any money. So he dumped me on the phone 10 years in.
At that point, Catherine had to restart her life from zero.
I had nothing.
At 30 years old, a complete reset.
Completely.
While scrambling to live, she accumulated a crazy amount of debt, $112,000. Today, she continues to face this difficult situation, and she's coming to the show with one goal: to save her future.
So, end of July 2022, I was finishing up school. I had a partner at the time who was like, you know what, I want you to stay home. I will support you. He did well, so I felt comfortable doing everything else to support the home. And so I went to go take my dietitian exam, and I failed the exam by 1 point. And 3 days later, I came home, and he called me, and he was like, you know what? I resent you for not actually making any money. So he dumped me on the phone 10 years in.
Ooh.
But it turns out he was cheating on me with my friend. And I tried to ask her about it, and she said that she was acting like she couldn't hear me. And so that week, because I should have passed the exam, my private student loan was coming for me, that my sister co-signed for me, and then he dumped me. A lot of my friends ghosted me at the time, so it was a really, really hard time mentally. So I thought that it was me, and I found out that I was looking at like my finances. I realized that I was spending a lot of money on things because things can't leave you. And I was coping that way with buying more things.
Whew. When it rains, it pours, okay?
Yes.
So how do you react now? You have no money.
Mm-hmm.
You just failed at your test.
Yeah.
Your half is gone.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
All I did was make sure that I drank water. I wasn't really eating. And I just applied to jobs. And that was all I did.
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Now let's see how all of this transition into your current finance situation. Let's start together looking at your income and your assets. Here I see 3 major accounts when it comes to your assets. Number 1, you have a checking account with a balance of 447.
Correct.
Number 2, you have an investment account through Moomoo with 775.
Yes.
We also see a high yield saving account.
Correct.
With a balance of 6,629. So right now, in terms of physical cash, you are at around 7,851.
Correct.
Okay, but you also have a car.
Yes.
What do you drive?
2010 Honda CR-V.
Ooh, very nice. Okay, how many miles?
169.
How much did you buy it for? 7,000. You got a good deal on it. The car is worth 7,150. Let's go! So we've definitely made money on the car. It's the first time on this show actually that someone had made a good deal.
I'll take a victory.
Excellent. Let's move on to some of the rest of your assets. And here I see that you've started, I believe it's a retirement account, right?
Correct.
It's a Roth IRA with a balance of $14,509.
Right now it's $15,480.
Together at 32 years old, that brings your current assets at $30,481. A little bit of credit card debt,
Correct.
Notably 2, one with a balance of $8,989 and another one with a balance of $3,264.
And there's also another one with a balance of $2,500.
Student loans. 19 different loans.
Correct.
Total, ladies and gentlemen, $112,000. And I'm not seeing any other, form of debt. So together right now at 32 years old, Catherine, a lot of which being your student loans, that brings your current net worth at minus $102,973. Okay. And when looking at your application, one of the big things that you mentioned here as your short-term goal is paying your high interest loans, which are going to kick in soon, as fast as humanly possible. And you also want to, at some point, be a homeowner.
Correct.
So there are a couple things that I would do. Number 1, quickly identify your needs, which is about $2,235 per month. Okay? That's 36% of your income. Yes, you're being very frugal. When it comes to your wants, I'm giving you $350 per month.
Okay, so that would be shopping and going out?
Yep.
Okay.
Everything wants that you don't need to survive.
Okay.
Today, your target, this is the goal number. This is what I want you to remember. Mathematically, you can save $3,500 per month.
Yes.
What are you going to do with that? You're not going to pay a dime of student loan for now. I don't care about that. If they ask you for it, you pay. You pay the minimum. You don't touch that. What I want you to do is that you maintain minimum payments on all your cards. You protect your credit score. You don't increase, of course, the debt that there is on that. I see utilization less than 90%. You're not at 100. Okay, it's not optimal, but you're protecting your credit score right now. You're playing a good game. You're going to move those $3,500 each month into the higher saving account. But what I'm telling you is the money that you have right now in your saving account is gone. You're not using this money. This is your emergency fund.
Yeah, that's not mine.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be used for tax. So what that means is in 4 months, I need you to pay your cards. And you're going to go as fast as you can to $10,000 on top of what you have. So it's going to take you an additional 3.5 months. Okay? I would take a shot at relocating in a city that is going to allow you money to go much further. Relocate to an area that's going to elevate your quality of life. And what I would do at that time is heavily invest into the market. Honestly, I think that with the cards that you had in hand, as I mentioned previously, you've played an almost perfect game. Now it's just a time and repetition. That's my assessment.
Thank you. That's way better than I thought. And that's why I wanted to speak to you, is I wanted to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm focusing on having compassion for myself and recognizing that it's just time.
Time. It's just time.
I don't want time. I'm ready. It's been 2 years. I want to be fierce and financially savvy and just done. And I want to be like secure. And it's hard to know that I just need to